Hey guys, tonight we're floating into one of those rare stretches in Roman history when things kind of worked. No mass executions, no horses in government, no emperors setting cities on fire for artistic reasons. Just a handful of men who somehow managed to rule the largest empire in the world without turning it into a soap opera. So dim the lights, exhale, and settle in, because for once, Rome found its chill. After Nero, a year of absolute chaos. Of course, before the calm came the storm. After Nero's dramatic exit, Rome had what can only be described as a year-long panic attack. 4 emperors took the throne: Galba, Otho, Vitellius, and finally Vespasian, all within 12 months. It was like an ancient reality show where everyone keeps getting voted off the island by civil war. Eventually, Vespasian, a practical, no-nonsense general, won. He wasn't glamorous. He didn't write poetry. He just fixed the budget, rebuilt Rome, and taxed public urinals. Yes, really. When people complained, he held up a coin and said, "Money doesn't smell." That's Roman fiscal policy in one sentence. Vespasian and Titus, the father-son repair team. Vespasian's dynasty, the Flavians, were refreshingly normal by Roman standards. He rebuilt the city, started the Colosseum, and probably wondered daily why anyone ever thought Nero was a good idea. When he died peacefully again, a rare luxury his son Titus took over. Titus had one of those short, tragic hero reigns, only 2 years long but packed with disasters. In 79 CE, Mount Vesuvius erupted, burying Pompeii and Herculaneum in ash. Titus did his best to help, sending aid and comforting survivors, which is honestly the nicest thing a Roman emperor had done in decades. Then came a fire in Rome and a plague, because apparently the gods had decided to speed run all their wrath updates at once. Titus handled it all calmly, but died young. Some said of fever, others of poison. Either way, people actually mourned him, which tells you how low expectations had become. After Titus came his brother Domitian, who looked at all that peace and goodwill and thought, no, let's go back to fear and suspicion. He was efficient, organized, and deeply insecure, like the world's most dangerous micromanager. Domitian loved being worshipped. He renamed months after himself, demanded people call him Lord and God, and executed senators who didn't clap hard enough. Still, he kept the economy stable, built infrastructure, and paid soldiers on time, which, in Rome, was the difference between ruler and corpse. Eventually, a palace servant decided enough was enough and stabbed him in his bedroom. And with that, the Flavian dynasty ended not with a bang, but with exhausted relief. After Domitian's dramatic demise, Rome wanted something softer. Enter Nerva, an elderly senator chosen mostly because he seemed too tired to start a civil war. He ruled for about 2 years, during which he mostly tried to calm everyone down. He was kind, reasonable, and not at all interested in murdering anyone, which made him wildly popular. But he also realized Rome couldn't keep gambling on random succession picks. So he made one brilliant move. He adopted Trajan, a respected general, as his heir. It was the first time Rome said, "Hey, maybe let's choose someone competent." The experiment would go so well that historians would later call this whole period the Pax Romana's golden afterglow. If Rome had LinkedIn, Trajan would have been the guy with a resume so long it made everyone else uncomfortable. He expanded the empire to its maximum size, stretching from Scotland's misty hills to the shimmering sands of Arabia. He built roads, aqueducts, markets, and monuments, and somehow stayed likable while doing it. He also had a gift for diplomacy. He treated conquered peoples decently, funded social programs for poor children, and didn't spend all his time stabbing senators. In short, he was the ancient world's version of a good manager. When Trajan died in 117 CE, Rome was enormous, wealthy, and at least on the surface content. But even golden ages have expiration dates. Next came Hadrian, Trajan's adopted heir. Where Trajan loved conquering, Hadrian loved walking. He spent most of his reign touring the empire, inspecting troops, and sketching architectural plans. He's best remembered for Hadrian's Wall, that long stone barrier slicing across northern Britain, basically saying, you know what, maybe we don't need more empire. Let's just stop here. Rome had reached its limit, and Hadrian knew it. He was also deeply cultured, loved Greek philosophy, and openly adored his companion Antinous, whose mysterious death in the Nile turned into a cult. Hadrian then filled the empire with statues of the young man, proving that even Roman grief came with a massive art budget. By the time he died, Hadrian had left behind libraries, temples, and one very tired postal service. If emperors were weather, Antoninus Pius was the gentle, mild drizzle that ruins no one's plans. He ruled for 23 peaceful years and somehow made it look effortless. No wars, no scandals, just tax reforms, charity, and the occasional temple repair. Even the Senate liked him, which was practically a miracle. He ruled from his villa, managed the empire through letters, and rarely raised his voice. When he died, people genuinely called him Pius the Dutiful, not sarcastically for once. Rome was calm, rich, and maybe a little bored, which honestly was the dream. The philosopher who couldn't catch a break. And then came Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher emperor. If you've ever seen a motivational quote about staying calm in chaos, it probably came from him. He wrote Meditations, one of history's most introspective diaries, full of lines like, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Beautiful words, written while surrounded by plague, rebellion, and a deeply disappointing co-emperor named Commodus. Marcus spent most of his reign on the frontier, fighting wars he didn't want, in weather he definitely didn't like. He was thoughtful, honest, and perpetually exhausted the dad of an empire full of problem children. When he finally died in 180 CE, the golden era died with him. His son Commodus would take the throne next and, well, let's just say things would get loud again. So there it was, Rome's best century. A time of reason, marble, and relative sanity. For nearly 100 years, emperors ruled with a blend of competence and restraint so rare it feels like fiction. But history, like Rome, never stays quiet for long. The next generation would undo everything with the enthusiasm of a toddler discovering fire. We'll drift into that chaos soon, but for now, maybe let's just stay here, in the soft glow of marble and moderation, before the world tilts again.